Hi everyone. My paper today is titled A Foucauldian Look at Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. Now this text focuses on the key character, Judge Holden, who imbues Blood Meridian with a transpositional power that exceeds the limitation of the human, where it reconstructs and reconceptualize man into discourse. My argument is that through a Foucauldian lens, one sees McCarthy's central preoccupation as subject under power. Judge Holden is used as a catalyst or agent of change that transforms the narrative into an organic discourse apparatus. The empirical, scientific, and moral Holden is a stark contrast to the concept of American Western heroes, with a goal of nation building and belief in manifest destiny. Holden dominates the narrative and characters through action and language, building a discourse that is both cohesive and repressive, thus trapping each of the characters in an episteme premised upon desire and violence. McCarthy utilizes another central character, the kid, to question and perhaps even to destabilize the paradigm of power that produces all the characters. The current scholarship on Blood Meridian is focused on the novel as an anti-Western myth, or as a revisionist Western myth, an interrogation of the concept of the Western hero, and a comparative element that grounds the imaginative in the biopolitics of today. From these critics, one sees how the mythic has veiled and sanitized the bloody intention behind America's early westward expansion, augmenting its belief in manifest destiny and the Western conception of a hero. My argument hinges itself upon the judge, not only as a transhuman or superhuman being, but the articulation of power. McCarthy's Holden is more than just a central character. He is the framework upon which the philosophy of might is right, is built and realized. Moreover, the most salient feature of this bloody tale is the reaction and interaction of the kid, which is the subject, and Judge Holden, discourse producer, leaving the reader with a single question: is there an outside to power? In the Foucauldian analysis of power, he emphasizes a key point, that the relationship between power and knowledge is symbiotic. Knowledge can be utilized to cover the trappings of power. So Foucault urges one to question the function of something and its context. When one approaches a particular problem, one must uncover the framework that constitutes such a problem and the assumptions one have. The reason lies in power's function, best unperceived at the capillary level. It is not concentrated or possessed, but a discourse in a way of interacting diffused through all subjects. That is why there is no exterior to power. And here's how Foucault defines the subtlety of power. If power were never anything but repressive, if it never did anything but say no, do you really think one would be brought to obey it? What makes power hold good, what makes it accepted, is simply the fact that it doesn't only weigh on us as a force that says no, but it traverses and produces things. It induces pleasure, forms knowledge, produces discourse. In my opinion, this is exactly Holden's role in Blood Meridian. The argument central to this essay is that McCarthy constructs the judge as an allegory of power, who dominate the narrative through deeds and words. Utilizing the judge, Blood Meridian is no longer a mythic construction, but a discursive one. The interaction of the judge, his philosophies and experiences, are the unifying force behind this discourse that produces and embeds each and every one of the characters within the narrative. The word discourse is used in the Foucauldian sense, practices that systematically form the object of which they speak. In viewing the judge as discourse, one needs to establish his place outside the norm and see how he constitutes and affects all the characters and narrative. In the formation of each member, the kid, who is the actual other protagonist included, one is distinctively aware of the role played by the judge. If we are the sum of our experiences in the Foucauldian sense, then the members of the gang are the product of a discourse dominated by the judge. This, coupled with the judge's linguistic dominance, allows him to dictate the shape of ideology and discourse in this version of the West. So the judge is in a way sort of like an urban niche described by Nietzsche, and an understanding of power, truth and meaning, all produced by the interaction with the judge. Well, the first thing I used was actually to say how the judge and his physical appearance is very different from all the other characters. All the other characters are scarred by violence and war, but Judge himself, sort of a master perpetrator of violence, is actually very clean. He looks, according to McCarthy, like a baby. So there's this contradiction between his outward appearance and obviously his bloodthirsty nature. Now, obviously, this isn't the only key aspect. The most visible part is his linguistic supremacy. The text itself, there's actually no story to the text. It's just a group of people roving around, killing people. The entire 328 pages, I think. So there's a lot of violence. There's no real structure to the actual story itself. There's a lot of series of event that happens, but we don't actually see a very coherent plot purpose. Now, let me give you an example of how the judge's language forms discourse. He says on page 209, whatever exists, he says, whatever in creation exists without my knowledge exists without my consent. These anonymous creatures, he said, may seem little or nothing in the world, yet the smallest crumb can devour us. Any smallest thing beneath yon rock, out of man's knowing, only nature can enslave man, and only when the existence of each last entity is routed and made to stand naked before him, will he properly be suzerain of the earth. Okay, as I've established. So basically what happens is the judge himself is sort of a discourse producer. Now the other key character in this is the kid. And the kid stands as a opposition to the judge. Let me just get to that part. Okay, this is not to say that the kid was a moral person or that his action shows otherwise, but as another critic suggests, he stands apart, not because of his purity or separation from the judge's will, but in the end he responds to circumstances, moral rectitude, and resist. Thank you. That was a little bit unfortunate.